I'm Theo Cedar-Jones, and I wanted to give an introduction of my perspective on the Cobb on Wood Village. And this place, I moved here in November 2020, and shortly after I moved in, I noticed the kitchen structure bloomed like a mushroom out of the soil one day. And if you just take a quick pan around with the camera, you see the total wreckage and carnage and destruction and dumping that this place was, or is still. And to see this immaculate hippie hut just come out of nowhere was like a vision. It was like a dream come true, because it's exactly the kind of thing I wanted to see in this place. It's like some innovative, locally sourced form of architecture that is cheap and easy to reproduce, relatively speaking. And so Cobb is this mixture of sand, clay, and straw, or similar items, that you glop into a ball and you slap it on some wood, or some bamboo, or some kind of structural framework. It could be stonework, wood, bamboo, and other cool things. They use pallets because that's what we've got. And then they would stuff the pallets with trash to insulate it. And this was the work of a collaboration between Miguel Elliott, who's the designer and the master builder of Cobb, and EFAM, an organization that is emergency food and medicine, a nonprofit that has helped to do the fundraising and the organization administration of this project. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's check it out. What do you got?
Check it out. First of all, you've got the hippie signage. Look at this, man. Somebody did like the tree stuff on here. I love this stuff.
That is cool.
And, you know, the politics of the economics of the situation where you have the homeless people living in what I call the Wood Street Commons, which is the biggest encampment that I'm aware of in America, stretching from 18th Street down to 34th Street, and Wood Street here is the frontage. And this place has been the informal dump of the city of Oakland, because the city of Oakland does not have a transfer station that is affordable in the city limits. So the lower 20% economically of the people here have no choice but to dump their garbage and abandoned vehicles and the stolen vehicles here in this like Mad Max sort of apocalyptic type of scene. So it was a dream come true to have Miguel and the EFAM people collaborate and make this extraordinary love village, hippie village. This is the water tank.
Hold on.
And this is the first established elaborate gardens in the Wood Street Commons was here, as far as I know. And this soil is notorious. It might be toxic with this, that, but without permission, without zoning or regulations, we developed the infrastructure that we want to see, which in my view is tiny home eco-village with shared infrastructure. Well, like what shared infrastructure? Like a signboard, like the shower, which is right over around the corner, and the composting toilet, and the clinic.
All right, let's walk that one.
And the kitchen. We've got a shared kitchen, and it sometimes has electricity. Electricity is a struggle out here.
There's a fridge.
Fridge, sink, oven, water. See if there's water today. Yes, there's water. So life out here is like the pioneer lifestyle where sometimes there's electricity, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's water, sometimes there's not. But boy, when they put in that shower, that is a bringing together. This place is a bringing together of homeless people and the housed community. And there's, up till now, been this invisible barrier between homeless people and the housed. And it's still been socially acceptable to dismiss or hate or scapegoat the homeless. But this place was the beginning of that intermixture happening. And then it started to grow from this point. And we had parallel to this, at the bottoms, the residents, that is to say, the homeless people who are living here, to get self-organized, have weekly meetings, and to start to have a process of consensus. And The bottoms sort of started to get emerging in March of 2021, and the Cobb Village started to add more buildings, and the community started to have regular Saturday and Sunday cleanups. And then we've had an open mic and a music stage for about the last 6 months. And as a musician and a rock and roller who's been starved of my career by the marketplace, I was able to revive my own musical life here at the Cobb Village, and that meant a lot to me. So maybe the biggest hit here is the shower. Do you know how dehumanizing it is to not have access to a shower when you're homeless? It is one of the, it's part of the systematic, inhumanity of it all. Now, I can't vouch totally for the condition here, but man, when I first took a shower in here, it was like God. I felt like God. And so they've got a heating system, we have water tanks, and a solar system that they put in here. And this represents to me the model of tiny home eco-village with shared infrastructure. Why? Because if you're in a tiny home, you've got to get out of the four walls to get access to the amenities like the shower and the kitchen and the fire ring and the Cobb Oven and the music stage and all the other cool things that we want to develop in every little village that we're going to build here in the Commons. Because we've got 29 plus acres to work with. Once we clear out all the abandoned vehicles and the trash, which we've been doing systematically on the south end, we're going to keep moving this process to the north, which is the most messy, messed up part of it, even more worse than this. Because the city of Oakland and Caltrans, with all their hundreds of millions of dollars, very little money, virtually no money has come from the city or Caltrans or the state to this great place. And why is that? We should find out. And this is also a big hit, Composting Toilet. Now, this is not the full technology that we would like to see, because we want to use something like the biobank, which really does use proper digestion and collaboration with the right microorganisms to make compost tea, a solid compost, and methane. And so stay tuned for real composting, because it's so ironic that they would like you not to do composting of your own poo. They want to monopolize your poo. Who's they? Ebmud. And it's so ironic. Ebmud's right. Hey, Phil is one of our great indigenous musicians here.
How you doing?
Oh, the needle dispensary here that we have to pick up and properly dispose of. We're here for harm reduction, not criminalization of methamphetamine or heroin. Those should be legalized in Oakland and regulated by we the people. So we're working on that harm reduction aspect of just cleaning out the needles from this place. And whenever we do a big cleanup, we have to scour it for needles first, so the workers aren't exposed to that stab harm. Don't want to jab when you shouldn't be jabbed. So we're going to get better at the composting, because it should not be that Ebmud has a monopoly on poo. Why should there be a monopoly on our water when we could drill wells here? There's water flowing from the streams and down from the hills, and there's a whole story of how every stream that comes down from the hills used to have a Ohlone village on it, a shell mound, and a graveyard. And we're mapping out those places to collaborate with the Ohlone tribes that are here. And me personally, I'm developing a relationship, I hope, with the Ohlone tribes to basically ask their permission to be here and to come up with a reciprocal exchange to heal that disconnect that has been here for a long time. That the ancestral bones of the Ohlone people were stolen from the shell mound areas at Emeryville and West Oakland and taken to UC Berkeley and put in a drawer. And I would like to collaborate with the Ohlone people to help them rematriate those ancestral bones and other items in a way that they see fit to these lands, and that would provide a spiritual healing for this place and the people here. Here's the community clinic. And I dedicated to various forms of alternative healing and harm reduction. And our resident Lydia would be a good person to interview to get an in-depth description of this place. But we are on the north side of Grand Avenue. The Bottoms was where our self-organizing process began, and that's where Lydia lives, where I live, and we're hoping to have a clinic down there. And we're fighting eviction from the city of Oakland and from Caltrans that would like to remove all of the people, 200 to 300 people living on this 29-acre expanse from 18th Street down to 34th Street. And we need everybody's help in the community to show up if that happens, because this place is a model of what could be done to solve homelessness in every city in America or the world, which is having the infrastructure in place to support basic human needs and cooperative community. Yeah, I've never been so happy with my life and the people that I'm with. The quality of relationships is outstanding, and it's not without its troubles and its hassles and its hazards. And we are an informal social work agency for people getting out of prison, for people out of mental institutions, for people who've been over-institutionalized, suffering from PTSD, from abuse and trauma and addiction. And, you know, I've been here since November. There hasn't been one violent homicide here in that time. I think we have a lower homicide rate in the Commons than out in the rest of downtown Oakland. And not to say it's perfect, it can't be improved, but there is a level of cooperative community here, naturally, organically, that I could not find in the marketplace. So this is a sleeping cabin. This is the most efficient, inexpensive way to get people housed other than the soft dome. And it's got a pitched roof, and you can stand up in it. The city had some other tiny homes that you couldn't stand up in. So here's a message to all the policymakers, all the planners. If you're gonna make a tiny home, you have to make it big enough to stand up. And look, it's like little colored glass windows and nice rounded, earthy forms and shapes, the roundedness of it, the tactile earthiness of it. This is the answer, or one answer, to this, the overuse of brutalism. Sterile, clinical, cold building materials, glass and steel everywhere. Humans are not supposed to live in glass and steel boxes. We didn't survive for 10,000 generations in glass and steel boxes. This is like just an earth mandala. Just a ceremonial space or a meditative space. A space to connect to the earth, to the ancestors, to yourself. Flowers and herbs. And this is a place that has been so abused by all of the negative consequences of pollution and neglect, but it's so beautiful that we have this like strange brutalist cathedral of freeways, and yet we can cohabitate with that infrastructure. And in fact, we've tried to help Caltrans, the administrators of this infrastructure, by removing flammable waste. Flammable waste has been allowed to be dumped here, and it is ripe for fires that have been terrorizing the residents. And we have done many, many weekends of volunteer work with homeless people here and the housed community, working side by side to start to take the abandoned vehicles out, to take tons and tons of trash out of this place, and to reclaim it for nature, to reclaim it for the proper maintenance of this infrastructure, and for residential long-term use of it. That this is a great place to live forever. This is going to be the most amazing solution to homelessness. This is going to be filled with recreational amenities, water slides, playgrounds, things for families, small business incubator, you have the space here when you're not living on the curb, on the sidewalk. You have the space to develop your businesses, your family, your community. We need land in order to have stability and cooperative community forever.
Very
So
cool.
this is the free store. And this is also very popular. People can get all kinds of items that they need. Shoes, clothing, kids' toys and books and stuff for your family. I mean, where have we ever seen anything like this in America? People's Park is like the closest analogy. But I like to think of West Oakland is the meeting place of all this culture and all these legacies. The Black Panthers started here in West Oakland. Burning Man started over in San Francisco. And the free speech movement was here in Berkeley. And rock and roll and graffiti and hip hop are parts of our export economy. And I'm hoping that we will bring the graffiti artists into respectability and not having to work in the shadows. I think we should dedicate swaths, acres of wall space in our city to the graffiti artists, and we should celebrate. I love the graffiti here. West Oakland graffiti rocks. This is one of the next things that got built here is the Cobb Oven. And you make a fire inside here, and then you let it go down to hot coals, and you move the coals to the edges, and the heat is absorbed in the mass of this construction. And it will radiate, it will use radiant heat to cook the food. And so you get a nice, smooth cooking because it's radiant heat. And then everybody can sort of hang out when it's cold and just sort of hug the thing because it's so warm, and you're like, oh, Cobb Oven, I love you. And, oh man, this is one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
Let's walk this way so I can get in the shot.
This
Come.
is, what is this? This is like the ancient Stonehenge of West Oakland. This is like the ancient architecture that sprouted anew in West Oakland. And this is Miguel's brainchild. Miguel Elliott, who is a master builder of this place and designer. That's the fire pit, and then people could sit around here and have their meetings or just be together in that tribal ancient way of collaborating and collecting around the fire. And it has a sense of ancient permanence, or this is like, to me, like the navel of this place, or like the navel chakra. And it anchors our sense of being rooted here and wanting to stay here, not to be displaced by the arbitrariness of the slow roll genocide that's been going on since the Ohlone people were depopulated between 1780 and 1850. And then Oakland was founded in 1852. And then the Union Pacific Railway came in, and they were the gatekeepers of who gets land. And they gave all of the shoreline of Oakland to one man. And the Port of Oakland is now a cement wall where our shoreline used to be. And the legacy of Oakland is so shattered by the Port of Oakland taking up our shoreline on the west face, and on eastern face of our hills, every old growth redwood tree was cut down, except for one, the grandfather tree in Leona Park. Look it up. So, if the bulldozers ever break this, it's gonna be not cool. And we the people, should make sure that doesn't happen. This is really special to me. One reason why I really love Cobb on Wood is that there's a music stage. And the fact is, you could come here and play music 24 hours a day, The place has noisy traffic from the freeway and a culture of automobiles without mufflers and catalytic converters ripping and roaring by, street racing. So loud rock music or other forms of entertainment and performance could be happening all the time. Do you know how liberating that is when our music scene, our local rock and roll scene is controlled by clubs that sell alcohol, where the national norm is 21 and over are the only people that get to go see local bands. So that means all the kids, all the families, all the junior high, high school, and college age people cannot see their local bands because of alcohol. And there's now no all ages show, no all ages venues after Gilman Street is being closed. So this is a revival of indigenous rock music and live performance for the people, by the people, of the people. And it's been healing for me to be able to come here every Sunday for open mic, do my music, and help other residents, homeless people, come out of the woodwork and show their talent. And without fail, every Sunday there's been somebody coming forward to show that they're a singer-songwriter or a drummer or, you know, could sing cover songs or play bass or play guitar. It's so great. So we built a stage down at the Bottoms, and now we have a stage here, and I want to fill the entire Wood Street Commons with little villages like this. This is the sort of missionary module of the Cobb building movement, and Miguel trails this trailer around, and he's taken this thing on freeways and many, many, many hundreds of miles, and it demonstrates the structural integrity of this form of domicile, that it can roll and take bumps on the freeway and go all over the place. Tiny homes on wheels is a phenomenal advantage, because you can, if you don't get along with your neighbors, or if you broke up with your ex and your village is not comfortable for you anymore, you take your little home on wheels and you find another village to live in. You find another place, maybe a half mile away. It gives you that flexibility to allow social fluidity, so that you're not stuck in your apartment or your house where if you move out, you're never going to get that rent again. It's going to skyrocket in rent, and you're always afraid you can't move. You're stuck. With tiny homes on wheels, there is so much more freedom to go to other commons in other cities, go to other places where you are more welcome or you just feel the vibe. So, tiny homes on wheels.
Right on.
Yeah.
And how many of the set do you have so far?
How many?
Well.
Yeah, look at all the different things you can do. We've got the heated bench, garden oven, earth bags. That's a whole other thing we want to do. I love everything on here. Look at this. I love combining the heavy masonry aspect of Cobb with lightweight tension materials, which is my specialty, of using stretch materials, stretch fabric, bamboo, and rope to create lightweight, airy sorts of designs that are actually incredibly weatherproof and durable. And it creates that contrast of airiness and earthiness. And it's inexpensive. The Cobb is fireproof. And with the fire problem that we have, this is a huge breakthrough. This, combined with aircrete monolithic domes, would be the most inexpensive, durable, fireproof way to develop residential solutions to homelessness, along with some other things. But we got to do the Cobb, and we got to do aircrete monolithic domes too. Look at all the cool stuff, man. Look at that. It's like a hobbit village. Look at the beauty. So, yeah, West Oakland, we're going to lead the way, as we always have, to restore the proper kind of infrastructure in the city that is conducive to cooperative community, self-sustainability, we have soil projects that we're developing to remediate this abused and damaged soil so that any heavy metals like arsenic, chromium, lead can be sequestered in microorganisms that are suited to that task. And when the soil area is safe enough, then we start to do soil regeneration, where we create living soil, which is, again, the use of microorganisms, fungi, and bacteria that will speed the process of compost and decomposition of biomass and make that rich, earthy, black loam. And we will grow food in West Oakland. We will service the surrounding city and communities with local food security. This intermixture of homeless and housed is a radical development in my view. And when the fires started to get so serious, and the community really showed up. So Cobb on Wood was a liaison to the broader community, and they brought in volunteers, and the residents, we call the homeless people here residents, were the team leaders who say, you can go there but not there, don't mess with that person, like observe the etiquette of territoriality of the people here. And then we had a great success because the southern end was where we started, and we've cleaned up about 50% of the trash there and removed 60 plus vehicles from under these freeway structures, because one of the main arguments they use to evict us is fire. And it's not the residents who do have open fires. It's like part of the culture here. It's like we're cavemen. We like to have our fire.
You gotta cook.
And you gotta cook sometimes to stay warm. And there's not enough electricity here to use electric heat. And
so who's starting the fires that are getting out of hand?
Well, everybody knows who it is, but they won't say because of fear of retaliation.
Why haven't you called her?
And it's really, I've been putting it out on the housed residents to pick up this particular piece of responsibility. And unfortunately, the fire department of Oakland is notorious for, but we want people moving to the bottoms.
And I'll send them to you.
Yes.
Okay.
We have room, and we need the numbers right now.
Okay.
But we need to vet them too. How much have you vetted the people that are being referred to you?
I literally don't know. This happened to me last night.
So that falls on us to vet people.
Yeah.
Get testimonials about them.
Yeah.
Find the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. I'm just putting feelers out, right?
Yeah.
But
we do need people that are vetted.
yeah, sounds like it.
Oh, it's serious.
Yeah.
We are developing security patrols of our own. I wish it would happen faster, but I'm saying it should be 3 people at a time, and it should be representative of the black people of West Oakland, is one of them, another homeless resident of any stripe, and then a community member who's housed. Or a professional. One of those 3 should be like a professional security person. And Lamonte is willing to train people for a stipend in both basic self-defense, de-escalation, and he better, because he's got so much personal power that he has to channel. I have, and she said she's going to give us a revised layout of the bottoms only for our meeting with the city on Thursday. And we're getting dressed up. We're putting a shade canopy over the all or none patio. We're gonna I built it, so I have my stretch fabric design stuff, and it's up, but I want to add to it. But it'll work for the meeting, but it's going to expand if we do eviction defense, so that our central corral is cleared of Naz's RV, and we can have people watch the music or the speakers on our stage.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And that's Thursday? Are they coming here?
Yes. They're coming to the bottoms, as so many of our city functionaries have come to our turf.
Would it be appropriate to have a member of the media there?
I need to vet that very question with 3 of the principal residents, because we have other people, Trevor of the Free Press, and want to know, can the press be at that meeting? And I personally think, fuck yes.
Yeah. Because then
I want everybody who's a sympathetic constituent there, frankly. Not that you have to be sympathetic, you have to be objective, I know.
They not want to tell the city that the press is going to
why
be
would
there,
we?
Because they may
There's that
not.
bullshit with the going
Agree.
back on the cleaning up and stewardship thing.
Well,
When they agreed verbally to
the Caltrans did.
Yeah.
That's not the city. We're meeting with the city, not Caltrans. This is a different kettle of fish.
Okay, I'm behind.
And in some ways, more ruthless. And
Yeah.
so these, Latanda Simmons and Shola Olatwe, notoriously fired from New York Transit Authority for covering up lead exposure to the poor. But who Audrey from Nancy Skinner's office thinks is just the bee's knees. Oh, Shola, she's the best. I don't know her very well. Oh, but she's great.
What residents are meeting with them on Thursday?
Everyone.
Everyone.
I fucking get, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that's the big
I
deal.
would love to come.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get your.
Yeah, you get my information and let's stay in
Contacts.
touch because I want it. Every press that's not.
And I'm as
Hey, Armando.
sympathetic as they come. I think.
Yeah. You don't have to be. I expect
I mean,
the press to try to be
I shouldn't say that
objective.
about myself.
Objectivity
well,
is
I'm
okay.
objective, but
Right, but this is
but it,
objectively ridiculous.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, on so many levels. We have a great story, my friend,
And great visuals
I know.
now.
and better visuals all the time.
Are you gonna get the before and after pictures printed on a board for
Yes, that's.
Thursday?
Did you see the woodstreetcommons.com yet? Check it out because
Oh, you
it's
guys
the
have a
first.
website?
Yes, first publication of before and afters.
So you're in contact with clients about mapping stuff, but
Yeah.
she also has access to a lot of like printers and stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe like I could try and get some of those before and after pictures printed and stick them on. Do you have that yet? As like a board visual, like plyboard?
I haven't done the layout in Photoshop yet of that kind of thing,
Yeah.
but I've
So that would be a helpful board to have.
in different. We talked about several themes. One is the responsible parties,
Yeah.
the mug shots.
I'm less excited. I'm less comfortable making those.
That's for when the war escalates, if it does. When we're out for,
Yeah.
we're going to come after you.
Yeah. Definitely work away.
But
I'm not opposed to
But the positive side is the before and after cleanup. And I gave you the whole flash drive full of images,
Yeah.
and so you can curate that any way you see fit. In terms of, we have site 1 was the first big pile, then we have the stream cleanup,
Yeah.
we have the Wood Street frontage cleanup, and then site 2 is like a grab bag if you want it extra.
Okay.
So there's a little slice of life. We're using hypergraphics, large prints on board at events like the Caltrans Rally. Did you hear about that?
Well, the one where I saw you.
Oh, is that
what you mean? Like
you were
on the
there?
22nd?
Yeah, so that's the 22nd of June
In front of the Caltrans.
in front of the Caltrans building. Like, that was the first activist event of residents, homeless people that I've seen, except we had a town hall meeting here at Cobb on April 18th. And 9 or 10 of our residents spoke before the press and the public. And that's what I call humanization. When you present the favorable, attractive, positive achievements of so-called homeless. And I'm personally working that angle instead of the angry protest angle. But when we get down to theatrics, it's also satirical. So they did the theatrics at the Caltrans event of a woman being evicted by a police person in Caltrans. And I've seen that, I've been through that. And that's a perfect representation to do. And then having the Aztec dancers is perfect. And then the ceremonial part where you invoke the 4 directions and you relate to your ancestors and you relate to the land, and that really gets to me.
That, just sort of human right to the land that is bigger than, transcends ownership.
It transcends ownership notions, and it's more than speculation, gentrification, and inflation. It's something very personal. You get attached to a place of earth and the land. And like Lamonte, who I mentioned, one of our leaders, is very proprietary about how Cobb has maybe appropriated what the homeless people have built here and established. And they get to get money from grants and based on that sympathy factor, do-gooderism. but it's a politically delicate balance because it could look like neocolonialism for the house to come in here, take some piece of land, and then say it's for the homeless, that they didn't build very many shelters where they could sleep. But the residents love the shower, and the kitchen. And so it's a delicate balance of reciprocity and respect, which is what has been lost when they ripped off the Ohlone people here. So now we're making territory maps with the help of Clancy, UC Berkeley, and Ian of who owns the deeds to which parcels of the Wood Street Commons right now. What's the history of ownership going back to 1850? And what does that mean in terms of strategy? Who are you dealing with as an owner? How do you develop that relationship as a homeless person with landowners? And essentially saying, we are making a land trust, sort of on the model of the Ohlone land trust called Segoria Te. And we're starting to approach the Ohlone elders to ask their permission to be here, to try to heal that old breach of trust. So it's a layers of political engagement and legality that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I would love to talk further, and understand, kind of unpack this vision and this place. It's very complicated.
It's very complicated. If you saw the ownership map that we're
I'd love to
developing,
see that kind of thing.
I have one in my van I could give you. I mean, it's
maybe there's a time this week we could
yes.
have an hour or two you could block out.
You should come down to the bottoms, and that's the organic expression of cooperative community that I found when I moved here last November. That people had already developed a way of distributing themselves in space. Not too close, not too far. Some people need a little more space. Some people like to be more social. And I'm going to measure the distances between these different habitations to find out what is the natural organic distribution as opposed to the RV parks and the cabins, the city designs, which are like an internment camp. People are too close. Sometimes two people to a shed. It's a system of destruction.
Yeah.
Top down versus grassroots, and self-organizing from within, which is my favorite place to be. Is cooperative community and this idea of a commons, where we have a social contract as to how an area of land will be administered over generations, and that's what the new Oakland Commons Trust is supposed to be.
So hi, I'm Miguel Elliott, also known as Sir Cobbalot, and we're here at Cobb on Wood in Oakland. This is a little village that was built using all locally sourced, naturally found objects, mostly pallets, insulated with trash and plastic, enclosed and covered in an earthen cob plaster, right? So this is my little mobile cob hut here. This is my gig, living earth structures, right? So yeah, I do all different kinds of earthen structures, and I try to get, the people that are going to be living in them and using them to help build them, right? And so this here, if you want to just kind of see, this is kind of a demonstration model to show how durable these earthen structures are, right? So it has a little kitchenette inside, a little table, it has a loft upstairs. It's kind of dark in there, so it's kind of hard to see. And so yeah, this is our community gathering space here. This is a little moat. It's actually like a pizza bar kind of thing, So you can actually cook the pizzas in the oven, and then we can put water in the canal with a pump, and then we put the pizzas on a boat, and it floats on the boat, right? Like a sushi bar kind of thing, like a pizza bar. So that's kind of fun. So the oven was the first thing we built here, right? And so during an event called What's Your Medicine, where different practitioners came and they had different healing services that they offered, and I was offering earth art therapy, right? The idea of working with the earth, getting your hands and your feet in the earth and working with other people can be a very therapeutic healing activity, right? And so the next thing we built then after the pizza oven was the kitchen right over here. And so the kitchen was built back in December, like mid-December. And so that was a nice community effort. Various people came and helped build. And then we did a water tower. We got to have a water tower. So that's water tower in there. And then we did the clinic was the next thing we built. So this was the clinic. So all these structures are built on skids so they can be lifted up and put on a trailer and made mobile if need be. And it's possible that's going to have to happen. I mean, Caltrans is saying that these are all going to have to go. So we might have to pick these up and move them. Hopefully not, because this is a great place to be. So yeah, so you can see, this is the clinic. So different healing treatments happen in here. And then this is the bathroom. So we have a composting toilet there. And this is the shower. So it's a great working shower. So you can see this shower is kind of a game changer. So that people definitely appreciate the use of good hot water. So you have an on-demand hot water tank here. So yeah, so that's probably one of the most enjoyable features here of the village, or appreciated anyhow. And then the next thing we built after the clinic was this little sleeping cabin. After we did the free store next, we'll take a look at this. So this is just like a little sleeping cabin that it's built on a pallet, right? And so it can be forklifted up and put on a trailer and made mobile. And so this is also built out of the pallets and filled with foam and covered in an earthen cob plaster. And so it just has a little bed inside. Somebody's been staying here, and a lockable door and window. And so this is kind of an alternative to a tent, right? So it would be great if we had whole villages of a bunch of these where the residents living in them could help actually build them too. And then this here is this is the free store. Free store is pretty cool. People come usually on the weekends, and they come and they donate different things, food and clothes and books and various things.
Let's talk about
Good. So these are this is the free store, commissary we call it, or I call it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So didn't mean to run you out.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So that's this is the Cobb on Wood space. So glad to share, and I hope that this will inspire other encampments like this to be built around Oakland and around California and around the country and world. So it's a great way to build because it's pallets that are free, it's fireproof, it's well insulated, it's durable, it's super cheap, it can be beautiful, and it's fun and easy to build. So I think this is a great solution for providing super low cost housing to those in need. So glad to share. Again, my Living Earth Structures, livingearthstructures.com is my website. You can find me on Instagram at Sir_Cobbalot. I'm Sir Cobbalot, or Miguel Elliott on Facebook. All right, thanks.
Welcome everybody to Cobb Wood and the Wood Street Commons. We're here representing all the people living here who seek to stay on the land and be owners through a commons trust, land trust, and defeat this tide of genocide once and for all. This is a new song, Lost, Left and Found. Just them kissing me Flashing mistake hasn't got us anywhere. All the Democrats in my town writing Karl Marx all the way down. I was on the left, but now I'm found. Each of the schemes has made a fall. They tried to depopulate us all the Democrats are in my town, writing Karl Marx all the way down. I was on the left, but now I'm found. They use climate to try to lock us down. Say the left should get out of town. All the Democrats are in my town, writing Karl Marx all the way down. I was on the left, but now I'm found. All the people that the left hate, you're quietly in the gate. Those are my people on the way. All the patriots and dispossessed, all the prostitutes and tweakers, all the rockers and rappers, all the graffiti geniuses, everywhere. It's enough to feel human. It's enough to feel human. It's enough to feel human. By the way, there's going to be a party at the Bottoms this Saturday. This is my band's song called Sway Bone, and this is Da Light. We are in a bright new age, new stage of reality, throughout the cosmic domain. The great one is here, new revelation, a bright new way for humanity. Whatever your guilt may have seen, let your water wash away. It is brightest consciousness, turning you to and where you stand. Hear the voice of God's command. Lovers of the light unite. Only the light in the The time has begun. You may Thank you, Nick.
7 miles
Prodigal Son.
That'll be the way to get along. That'll be the way to get along. Oh, going long things on up down the road. Now it feels gone, wait a my feelings on the day. On my breath, on the feeling. That'll be the way to get along. All my feet alone, on my feet alone. That'll be the song.
This is Prodigal Son by the Rolling Stones. It's from a Big Tank, which also has a Factory Girl.
Waiting for the girl, no money anywhere. She is a sight for sore eyes, waiting for a factory girl. waiting for the factory girl.